The fourth time, the crystal ashtray shattered against the wall just inches from Liam's head. Asher's voice finally broke. He roared, asking if Liam was carved from stone, questioning what would happen if his aim wasn't intentionally poor. Liam stood motionless, his tailored suit immaculate, a laptop clutched to his chest like a shield. His gaze drifted down to the debris littering the expensive rug before rising again, his expression unreadable. He calmly stated the facts as he saw them. Asher had been a national champion in marksmanship at Yale. 1 miss was an accident. 2, a coincidence. 4 consecutive misses was a deliberate choice. Therefore, there was no need for him to move. Asher let out a bitter laugh, remarking on how much Liam knew about his college days, and how his father, that old fox, must have given him a complete dossier. He picked up a heavy, abstract sculpture from the end table, testing its weight in his hand, his eyes locking with Liam's in a clear challenge. Liam didn't flinch. He simply stood his ground, a pillar of calm in the storm of Asher's rage. Seconds ticked by. The tension was a physical presence in the room. Finally, with a sigh that seemed to drain all the fight from his body, Asher let the sculpture thud onto the mahogany desk. He dropped his head onto the cool wood with a soft groan, a familiar gesture of surrender in their ongoing war. It was the signal Liam had been waiting for. He crossed the room, his steps measured and silent, and placed the MacBook in front of Asher. On the screen, the faces of 24 executives stared back, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. A faint, perfectly calibrated smile touched Liam's lips as he announced that it was time for Mr. Vance's report. Liam was the husband Asher's father had purchased for him. Before this arrangement, he had been Elias Vance's most ruthlessly efficient executive assistant. Now he was Asher's, a combination of handler and tutor, brought in to force the company's heir apparent to finally take on his responsibilities. The gossip columns and industry whispers painted Asher as a reckless playboy, his reputation in tatters after years of actively avoiding any connection to the family business. Elias's solution was this bizarre, binding contract: marry his top employee into the family to manage the mess from the inside out. But Asher's very nature was rebellious, an alpha hardwired to resist control. Negotiations had failed spectacularly, ending only when Elias threatened the jobs of the staff at Elysium, the high-end lounge that was Asher's only real passion project. And so, he had reluctantly married Liam. His first impression hadn't been negative. Liam was clean-cut and tall, with a quiet intensity that was more scholarly than corporate. Asher had been genuinely surprised to learn he was an Omega. He carried himself with the unruffled confidence of a Beta. But beneath that gentle exterior was a will of steel. For 5 months, every morning at 8, Liam had been there, relentlessly trying to get him out of bed and into the office. Asher had made it clear on their wedding night that their arrangement was in name only. Separate rooms, separate lives. Liam had agreed at the time. When confronted, Liam had simply adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses and pointed out that Asher had only stipulated non-interference in his private life, not his professional one. The word games began, a strategic battle of wills that Asher, to his shock and fury, found himself consistently losing. When he refused to go to the office, Liam initiated video conferences. When Asher fled to a friend's apartment and turned off all his devices, Liam recorded the meetings and made him watch the playback. No matter what Asher did, Liam remained placid, persistent, and unshakable. It was like punching a cloud. He growled into his whiskey, complaining to his friends that he had absolutely no way to win. It was past midnight at Elysium, the bass of the music a heavy pulse in the air. Jake, flushed with alcohol, slurred that Liam was just an Omega and that Asher should stop playing around and show him who was in charge. A sudden silence fell over their booth, the music seeming to swell to fill the void. Asher's eyes went cold, and Jake sobered up instantly, stammering apologies. The others quickly jumped in to smooth things over. Asher looked away, letting it go. Since humanity had fractured into alphas, betas, and omegas, the social chasms had only deepened. Alphas, the natural rulers, inevitably rose to the top. The children of the rich remained rich. The children of the poor remained poor. And omegas, physically weaker and fewer in number, were the most vulnerable. They were barred from many professions, treated as if their only purpose was to be appendages to alphas and betas. There was even a monstrous, unwritten law. Assaulting an omega in heat wasn't a crime. The excuse was that an alpha's rut was an uncontrollable reaction to omega pheromones. It was a lie Asher found disgusting. He despised the system and would never raise a hand to someone society had already placed at a disadvantage. His father, the old fox, must have known this. It was precisely why he had chosen Liam. Dylan, whose family had been allied with the Van Cess for generations, offered a different perspective. He reasoned that Liam must be getting something out of this deal with Elias, so Asher just needed to make him a better offer. The simplicity of it struck Asher. Of course, he just had to find Liam's price. He left the club early, stopping to pick up a bottle of top-shelf bourbon on the way. Someone as sharp as Liam, a top aide at a massive corporation, was no fool. Asking him directly would be pointless. The truth would have to be coaxed out with alcohol. It was only 11:30 when he got back to the penthouse. Liam was a model of efficiency in all things. Professionally, he would supervise Asher in the morning, then rush back to the main office to continue his own work during lunch. Domestically, no matter how late Asher returned, Liam would be waiting in the living room, a home-cooked meal on the table. He was a paradox. Strict and demanding during work hours, yet unfailingly attentive after. Asher was beginning to understand Elias's choice. Tonight, however, the apartment was dark. The silence was unsettling. As Asher reached for the light switch, he heard a faint, rhythmic sound. It was coming from his bedroom. The door was slightly ajar, a sliver of light escaping from within. He moved toward it, his footsteps silent on the thick carpet. The closer he got, the clearer the sound became, a soft, breathy moan of pleasure and restraint. His chest tightened. Through the narrow gap, he saw a scene that froze him in place. Liam was leaning against the headboard of his bed, lips parted, his head thrown back to expose the pale, flushed column of his throat. The crisp white shirt he always wore was disheveled, open to reveal a chest slick with a light sheen of sweat. He was wearing AirPods, lost in his own world, completely unaware that he was being watched. Asher couldn't see everything, but his mind filled in the gaps with vivid, startling clarity. He was in heat. Liam's soft sounds were like hammer blows against his nerves. He felt a flush of heat crawl up his own neck, his mouth suddenly dry. Was this the same person? The composed, almost ascetic man he knew? He couldn't watch anymore, couldn't bring himself to intrude. But as he started to pull back, he heard his own name whispered on a raw, passion-choked breath. Asher. He froze, drawn back to the doorway. He saw Liam's hand, which had been out of sight, fall to his side. In it, he was clutching not just a piece of paper, but a photograph of Asher himself, bringing it to his lips in a tender, desperate kiss. Asher fled. He drove back to Elysium in a daze. The manager saw his face but wisely said nothing. He locked himself in his office and chain-smoked for half an hour, trying to banish the erotic, disturbing image from his mind. He was thankful for the powerful pheromone blockers he habitually took. Without them, the scent in the apartment would have sent him spiraling out of control before he even opened the door. He forced himself to think. Liam was in heat. He was using the concentrated scent of Asher's pheromones in his bedroom to alleviate it. That made sense for an Omega without a bonded Alpha. But kissing his photograph, was that part of the process? A need for visual stimulus? The question gnawed at him. He drove home as the sun was rising. He took a deep breath before opening the door, steeling himself to act normal. The scent of coffee and frying bacon greeted him. Liam was in the kitchen, wearing a ridiculously cheerful cartoon print apron that clashed with his usual serene demeanor. He smiled, a perfect, practiced expression, and told Asher that breakfast was almost ready and that he should go shower. For a moment, Asher wondered if he had hallucinated the entire previous night. In all their months together, Liam had never shown a single sign of distress, not even during his heat cycles, which Asher had always assumed were difficult. He so often forgot Liam was an Omega. After his shower, he found Liam waiting at the dining table. The spread was, as always, tailored to Asher's exact preferences. Liam informed him that there was a family dinner that night. Elias had called. Asher's cousin Todd was back from Europe, and they were all expected at the family estate in the Hamptons. Asher's immediate response was to refuse. Liam explained that Elias was insistent. He said that the brothers hadn't seen each other in years, and that Todd had been doing great things with the overseas division. He suggested Asher could learn from him. Asher was about to refuse again, more forcefully this time, but he looked up and met Liam's clear, steady gaze. The harsh words died in his throat. He hated those family gatherings, the endless parade of relatives and their veiled judgments. Liam's eyes softened, a flicker of vulnerability in their depths. He asked quietly if Asher was really going to make him face all those people alone on his first visit as part of the family. The image of Liam the night before, flushed and lost in pleasure, superimposed itself over the composed man sitting before him. Asher relented, but on one condition: no work. No company files for the entire day. Liam agreed instantly, a brilliant smile breaking across his face. The speed of his acceptance made Asher suspicious. There had to be a catch. Liam's smile widened as he innocently reminded Asher that it was Saturday. He wouldn't have been working anyway. Asher stared, dumbfounded, as Liam, a twinkle in his eye, wished him a good morning and disappeared back into his room. Perhaps Liam wasn't a genius. Perhaps Asher was just an idiot. The Vance estate was a sprawling mansion on the coast, far from the city. Asher tossed Liam the keys and settled into the passenger seat to sleep. Thanks to the night's events, he hadn't rested at all, his mind replaying the scene in the bedroom every time he closed his eyes. Liam woke him gently 15 minutes before they arrived, suggesting he wake up properly to avoid catching a cold in the evening air. As Asher watched him check the rearview mirror, his movements precise and careful, a thought soured in his mind. Last night he was whispering Asher, now he was back to the formal Mr. Vance. Liam's social grace was a thing to behold. He navigated the sea of relatives with an ease that bordered on supernatural, remembering names, offering perfect pleasantries, and charming everyone without ever appearing sycophantic. Asher found himself just watching him, a mix of annoyance and grudging admiration churning in his gut. When they found a moment alone on the veranda, Liam finally turned to him. He noted that Asher had been staring at him for quite some time and asked if there was something on his face. Asher asked if he ever got tired of it all, the constant performance of perfection. Liam paused, a glass of champagne halfway to his lips. He considered the question seriously before replying that being meticulous was simply part of his nature. He saw no fault in being thorough. Then, a playful glint appeared in his eyes. He leaned closer, his voice a low murmur. Or, he asked, was it that Mr. Vance found him boring? Boring. The word was so wrong it was almost comical. Asher's mind flashed again to Liam, undone and breathless, whispering his name. A strange, inexplicable anger flared inside him. He looked at Liam coldly and told him that since he was so thorough, he could handle his drinks for the rest of the evening. Liam's smile didn't falter, but he sensed the shift in mood and simply nodded his assent. Later, the man of the hour arrived. Todd Vance was Asher's age, smug and radiating a new self-importance. He'd been a screw-up like Asher in college, but had apparently found his purpose overseas. He made a beeline for Asher, raising his glass for a toast. Liam intercepted him smoothly, taking the glass and downing it before Todd could protest. By then, Liam had already deflected several rounds for Asher, and a faint flush was creeping up his neck. Todd looked from Liam to Asher, confused. Liam, slightly affected by the alcohol, simply refilled his glass and drank it down, licking his lips afterward. A mischievous thought sparked in Asher's mind. He draped an arm around Liam's shoulders, pulling him close. This, he announced to his cousin, was his better half. Liam went rigid in his arms. Asher tightened his grip, enjoying the moment, and whispered in Liam's ear, prompting him to say hello. Liam, looking slightly dazed, mumbled a greeting to Todd. Todd stammered, unsure what to call Liam. Asher repeated the term, better half, with a firm nod. The awkwardness was palpable. Todd quickly changed the subject, launching into a long, self-congratulatory monologue about his business triumphs, punctuating it with a pointed remark about how Asher was still doing nothing, a disgrace to the alpha name. Before Asher could retort, Liam spoke up, his words clear despite the alcohol. He inquired if it wasn't true that the European division had only turned a profit after a massive capital injection from the Jiang Corporation. And wasn't the current CEO Julia Jiang? He asked how much of the CR truly belonged to her. Todd froze. So did Asher. So much for being slightly tipsy. Todd forced a laugh and admitted she deserved maybe half the CR. Asher seized the opening, sighing dramatically. He patted Todd's shoulder, saying that for a beta, taking half the CR was quite an achievement and something to aspire to. He lamented that those who worked solely for Vance Corp like them had to rely on their own merits. Todd's face turned crimson. From beside him, Asher heard a choked snort. Liam was covering his mouth. His eyes crinkled into slits, desperately trying to contain his laughter. For the first time, Asher saw something genuinely unguarded in him. Maybe this, he thought, was interesting. Before Todd could explode, Asher steered Liam away. He got him back to the car and realized he'd left his jacket and the car keys inside. When he went back, he found his father waiting for him by the door. Elias Vance handed him the jacket, his eyes glancing towards the car. He smiled, a self-satisfied smirk, and asked if his choice wasn't a good one. Asher sneered, accusing his father of having some sick fetish for caging brilliant omegas in domestic prisons. Liam was an elite talent who belonged in a boardroom, not married off to the boss's deadbeat son. Elias's smile vanished. He adopted a look of paternal concern, telling Asher that an omega's greatest value was in procreation. Everything else was secondary. Liam, he explained, had been groomed specifically for this role, to support the heir of a great family. Asher felt a wave of nausea. He asked if that was the real reason Elias had sponsored him, to turn him into a broodmare for the Vance family. He'd done his research. Liam had been under Elias's patronage since high school. It was a debt he was now being forced to repay. Elias just smiled. Partly, he admitted, "You're despicable," Asher spat, turning to leave. Elias chuckled behind him. He called out that Asher was his son, with his blood and his genes. He pointed out that Asher had just forced Liam to drink for him. "We're the same," he said, "just as predatory as any other alpha." His words were a knife in Asher's gut. Back in the car, Liam had his head out the window, letting the cool night air rush over his face. Asher slammed the door shut as he got in, making Liam jump. His father's words echoed in his mind, a poison seeping into his long-held beliefs. He had spent years trying to suppress his alpha instincts to be different from Elias, but maybe the old fox was right. Maybe the cruelty was hardwired. "You're so aggressive," a soft, slightly petulant voice murmured from the passenger seat. Liam was slumped against the window, his usual perfect posture gone. Asher thought he was complaining about the slammed door, but Liam said nothing more. He just stated it as a fact. "Yes," Asher said, starting the car. "I'm too aggressive. Sorry if I scared you." He pulled slowly out of the long driveway. "It's good, though," Liam mumbled, his eyes closed. "Keeps the other Omegas away from you." The quiet words hit Asher with the force of a physical blow. He kept his eyes on the road, not daring to ask what he meant. They were in the underground garage when Liam suddenly asked if he was really that uninteresting. Asher turned to find him staring, his expression serious. He realized, with a jolt, that Liam was angry. The absurdity of it made him laugh out loud. Liam's brow furrowed, his displeasure growing. When Asher finally caught his breath, he told him no, he wasn't boring at all. Right now, he was fascinating. A deep blush spread across Liam's face. This version of Liam, vulnerable and real, was infinitely more compelling than the flawless automaton he usually presented to the world. Asher felt a strange sense of possessive pride, but it was tinged with sadness. He realized that in the house of Vance, Liam could never truly be himself. The next morning, Asher was up early. He found Liam in the kitchen and, with a slow smile, greeted him. "Morning, my dear Liam." The sound of a spatula clattering to the floor was the only reply. Liam stared at him, bewildered. Asher just leaned against the doorframe, reminding him that he had answered to far more intimate names the night before. Liam, flustered, deflected by asking why he was up so early. Asher looked at him for a long moment, then announced that from that day forward, he would be going to work with him. He handed the keys to Elysium over to Dylan, who looked at him as if he'd grown a second head. He explained that he was finally going to work for the family business. As he was leaving, Leo, a young Omega he'd rescued from the streets and given a job, ran up to him, his eyes wide with concern. Asher reassured him that Dylan would uphold the club's strict rules protecting the staff. The boy had been through enough. Asher felt a pang of guilt for causing him more anxiety. He threw himself into Vance Corp. Liam was a phenomenal teacher, translating complex corporate structures and financial data into something Asher could easily grasp. Liam, for his part, seemed both surprised and relieved by Asher's sudden dedication, working even harder to bring him up to speed. It was then that Asher discovered Liam had been doing his own full-time job on top of managing Asher, all for a single salary. His father was an even bigger monster than he'd thought. After 3 months of relentless work, they finally left the office at a reasonable hour. As they drove home, Liam gave him a summary of their progress, telling him he would soon be ready to manage his division independently. In the elevator, Asher asked him what he would have wanted to do if he had never joined Vance Corp. Liam thought for a moment, then said his dream, since he was a junior in high school, had always been to work there. That evening, Asher suggested they relax with a video game. But a call came through from Elias, and Liam immediately picked up his laptop, ready to head to the study. Asher blocked his path. He was his boss now, he pointed out, asking who else could possibly make him work overtime. Liam, taken aback, explained that his father needed some spreadsheets. The mention of his father's name made something in Asher snap. He demanded to know if Liam had any opinion that wasn't dictated by Elias Vance. The sudden fury shocked them both. Liam reached out, his voice soft, trying to calm him down, offering to forget the spreadsheets and play the game. Asher slapped his hand away. He said he'd lost interest, then grabbed his jacket and car keys. As he stormed out, he yelled back that whatever he was doing was none of Liam's business. Sitting in a booth at Elysium, the self-loathing washed over him. He had no reason to yell at Liam. It wasn't his fault. The pressure of the last few months was getting to him, making his temper shorter, especially with Liam. It was as if Liam's relentless perfection was a mirror showing him his own flaws, and he hated it. Dylan watched his turmoil and asked if he was nearing his rut. The timing was about right. Asher realized with a jolt that in the chaos of his new life, he'd completely forgotten to take his pheromone blockers. That explained the violent mood swings. He confessed his dilemma to Dylan and Leo, asking the younger Omega a blunt question. Did they need a fantasy object during their heat? After a shocked silence, Leo shyly admitted that if they did, it would be someone they had feelings for. A light went on in Asher's mind. He wasn't angry at Liam's obedience. He was angry because he had seen the vibrant, laughing, real man beneath the perfect employee, and he couldn't bear to see him disappear again. He stood up, telling Dylan he had to go home. He had to apologize to his better half. The elevator doors opened to a wall of scent, a cloyingly sweet floral aroma that hit his brain like a drug. Omega pheromones. It was too late to block it. A ferocious heat surged through his body. He stumbled into the apartment and found Liam collapsed on the living room floor, his face contorted in pain. A box of inhibitors lay spilled on the coffee table just out of his reach. The heat must have come on too fast, too strong for him to even administer the dose. He saw Asher and a flicker of hope lit his eyes. He begged him to pass him the syringe. Asher moved toward the table, his heart hammering against his ribs, his own instincts screaming to the surface. He should help him. It was the right thing to do. He picked up the plastic injector. His hand trembled. Then, with a sharp crack, he crushed it in his fist, the life-saving liquid dripping between his fingers. He looked up slowly, meeting Liam's terrified, despairing gaze. His own mind was a storm, the last vestiges of reason screaming that this wasn't sex, this was violence. But it was a scream that was quickly being drowned out by the rising tide of pure, predatory instinct. He heard Liam begging, pleading, calling him Mr. Vance. He leaned down, his voice a low growl, and asked why he wasn't calling him Asher, the way he had that night, alone in his bedroom. The look of utter devastation on Liam's face was the last thing he saw clearly before the world dissolved into scent and heat and need. He awoke to silence and the dull throb of a headache. The other side of the bed was empty. The memories crashed down on him, brutal and sharp. Bruises, tears, the scent of fear mixed with pleasure. He had become the very thing he despised. He had become his father. He dressed, his only clear thought to go to the police and confess. He opened the front door and found Liam standing there, holding a briefcase, a square bandage stark against the pale skin of his cheek. Liam looked at him calmly, as if nothing had happened, and said he thought it best to work from home for a few days, as the marks were too obvious. "I'm going to turn myself in," Asher said, his voice hollow. "I'm sorry, Liam." The words were ash in his mouth. Liam rushed forward, blocking the door. He insisted it wasn't a crime, just an accident, what married couples do. Asher reached out and gently traced the edge of the bandage. This was his violence, he told him, not something they were supposed to do. As he tried to push past, Liam grabbed his arm, his face flushed, his voice desperate. What if he said he liked it? What if he'd wanted it to happen for a long time? Would that be enough for Asher to forgive himself? The confession he had once craved now felt like another wound. A lie told out of pity to absolve a monster. He told Liam that it didn't matter. He had said no. That was all that mattered. He left anyway. The police listened to his story, noted their marital status, and promptly threw him out, him about filing false reports. He retreated from Liam, from himself. He sent a divorce agreement through his lawyer, offering a fortune in assets and company stock. He hired a new assistant. He moved into a new apartment. He tried to excise Liam from his life, but the withdrawal was a physical ache. Every quiet moment, every familiar routine, was a reminder of his absence. A month later, Liam found him in the parking garage of his new building. He looked thinner, more brittle, but his eyes burned with a cold fire. He asked, his voice tight with fury, if this was Asher's plan all along. Use him to learn the business, then throw him away like a used tool. He said Dylan had told him where to find him. He told Asher his confession that morning had been real, not a tactic. And then he pulled out a thick photo album. It was filled with pictures of Asher. Candid shots, taken over the past year. Stolen moments from a distance. The evidence of a long-standing, secret obsession. Liam admitted it was pathological, but it was proof. He loved him. He had loved him before they ever met. Asher was speechless. As Liam stepped closer, the faint scent of his pheromones reached Asher, and he flinched back instinctively. A sad, knowing smile touched Liam's lips. "Can't I tempt you?" he whispered, his voice a mix of challenge and plea. "Asher?" The air in the garage grew thick and heavy. Liam confessed that his struggles that night hadn't been a rejection. It was shame. He had been terrified of Asher discovering the depth of his obsession, the photos, the fantasies. He then told him the whole story. It started in high school, when an anonymous alpha posted online about the hidden truth of their biology, that omegas could mark them. For a scared, newly presented teenager, it was a beacon of hope. Years later, he read an academic article Asher had written in college, arguing for stronger laws to protect omegas. The writing style, the fierce morality, it was the same. He knew it was him. Asher found it hard to believe. Liam had fallen in love with an idea. Liam gave a small, self-deprecating laugh. He said he had fallen in love with his soul. He described the years of relentless work, the grades, the struggle to win the Vance sponsorship, molding himself into the perfect candidate for Elias's cruel game, all for the slim chance of getting close to the man he idolized. To have finally made it, only to be pushed away because of one accident, was, he said with a flash of his old fire, incredibly rude. He looked Asher in the eye. He knew he didn't want to be like his father. But instinct wasn't a sin. Losing control was terrifying, but one mistake didn't have to define him. They could find a way through it together, but not if Asher kept him at a distance. After everything, he asked, his voice trembling slightly, "Do you still think pushing me away is what's best for me?" For a long moment, there was only silence. Then Asher closed the distance between them, pulling Liam into his arms and holding him tight. He buried his face in Liam's neck, resisting the primal urge to bite, to mark, and instead pressed a soft, lingering kiss to his earlobe. "Let's accelerate," he whispered,